Quran, a thematic overview.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, thumma amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna mathala Isa 'inda Allahi ka mathali Adam, khalaqahu min turab, thumma qala lahu kun fayakun. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin ya Rabbil Alameen. Once again, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today's session is a bit strange. I'm going to start by giving you, hopefully in this session, I'll give you 6 examples of one form of symmetry or another in the Quran. A kind of symmetry that's, I personally believe, humanly impossible. You come up with your own conclusions, inshallah. So the first example has to do with Isa alayhi salam. Hopefully you know who that is. He is the last messenger sent to the Israelites. He was the final messenger sent. The Israelites, Bani Israel, were sent lots and lots of prophets, one after another. As a matter of fact, some hadith tell us, كُلَّمَا هَلَكَ نَبِيٌّ خَلَفَ نَبِيٌّ, which means every time a prophet would die, another would take his place. In other words, every single generation had a prophet among the Israelites. That chain discontinued for some time, and then after a gap, Isa alayhi salam came. Okay? And Isa alayhi salam came as a final messenger. And of course, after Allah had raised him and not killed him, rather, or not given him death, raised him, there were new doubts that were created a few centuries later about Isa alayhi salam, and some started believing in him to be the son of God. There's a story behind that too. It's a long story. But bottom line is, Christianity in its current form and all of its denominations were kind of a result of a few centuries after Isa alayhi salam left. And this entire mythology of a son of God was created. The Quran responds to the idea that Jesus is not the son of God, and it actually responds to it very, very simply. In Surah Al-Imran, that is the 3rd surah, I don't have the ayah number in front of me, the 3rd surah, Allah Azza wa Jal says, إِنَّ مَثَلَ عِيسَى عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ آدَمَ خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ قَالَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. No doubt about it, the example of Isa, as far as God is concerned, the example of Jesus, as far as God is concerned, is just like the example of Adam. It's just like the example of Adam. So who is Isa being compared with? Adam alayhi salam. خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ. He created Adam from dirt. ثُمَّ قَالَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. Then he said to him, be, and he came into being. Now, the reason that comparison is important, I'll tell you a story about myself. I was sitting on a Long Island Railroad many, many years ago, when I still used to work in New York City. I used to live in Long Island. I'm sitting in the Long Island Railroad, and next to me is a guy that's reading the Wall Street Journal. And we have about an hour and a half ride. Okay, it's a long ride. And I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy somehow about Islam. I don't know. Something came in my head. I was like, I want to talk to this guy about Islam. So I started the conversation with, crazy market, isn't it? I had no idea what else to start with. But he was reading the Wall Street Journal, so I figured, So anyway, we start, conversing, and he starts telling me about his family, and, I was like, so you go to church? And he goes, yeah, I go to church once in a week, whatever. And he tells me he's Catholic and this and that, and how he doesn't like it because they're always asking for money. But anyway, so one thing leads to another. So I say, I always had a question. I wondered something. I wondered, so you guys believe that Jesus is God's son because there's no father, right? So you call him a heavenly father. So that's what makes him God's son, because there was no man, it was just a woman, Mary, and she has this baby. So there's one parent missing, right? One human parent is missing. I would think Adam is twice as miraculous. The first human being is twice as miraculous. Why? Because both parents are missing. No mom and no dad. So if you think he's the son of God because there's no dad, you should think like Adam is has twice the right to be considered son of God. Wouldn't Adam say, hey, wait a second? I don't get it. What do you guys think about that? And he goes, well, I guess that's the mystery of faith. And I've heard that answer many times, actually. They can't answer that question, except that they can say that's just a mystery, I suppose. The Quran is very clear. See, it just cuts to the heart of the matter. Now, this is one ayah in which both Jesus and Adam have been mentioned in the same ayah, in the same breath. They've been talked about. The example of Isa, the example of Jesus, is just like the example of Adam as far as God is concerned. And Allah. Okay. Interesting note. The Quran mentions Jesus 25 times. The Quran mentions Isa alayhi salam 25 times. The Quran mentions Adam 25 times. Over the course of 23 years and the 600 pages of revelation that we have, the example of Jesus as far as God's concerned is just like the example of Adam. Isn't that what he said? The example of Isa is just like the example of Adam. The two prophets that have been mentioned the same number of times, 25 each, are who? Isa and Adam. And then what's even crazier is this is in the third surah. This is in the third surah. How many times did I say it's been mentioned? 25 times. If you go before this surah, before the third surah, before Ali Imran, you have Fatiha, and then you have Baqarah, and then you have some parts of Ali Imran, and you have this ayah. Up until this point, Isa has been mentioned 6 times. This is the 7th time. This is the 7th time that his name has come up. And if you go from the beginning up until this point, this is also the 7th time Adam is mentioned. And if you go from here to the rest of the Quran, both of them are going to be mentioned 18 times each. The example of Isa as far as Allah is concerned, no doubt, is just like the example of Adam. And the next ayah after, you understand this example? How wild that is? You know, some surahs are Makki and some are Madani, some came later, some came earlier. And people say, well, if those came earlier, why didn't Allah put them in the beginning? Allah had His own order in mind of how the Quran should be compiled, separate from the order in which the ayat were coming down. It's a separate discussion, how the ayat were ordered in this way. And after Allah was done putting it in the order that He intended, look at the incredible consistency. As a matter of fact, I don't even think anybody at the time of the Prophet ﷺ would have known the number of times Adam and Isa are mentioned. Nor did anybody come forward and say, check this out. I'm going to recite the entire Quran, just put an X every time I say Isa. That's 25 X's, bro, after 3 days. All right, I'm going to read the whole Quran again. Put an X every time you hear Adam. Nobody would have done that. Nobody would have done that. Because the Quran was not in a database. You couldn't search it. You couldn't Google it. You couldn't, there were no indices. You couldn't do it. SubhanAllah. Okay, let's go on. That's the first example of, just inexplicable. You just can't explain it, the kind of symmetry that's there. By the way, I'm giving you many examples, but honestly, if you stop and think about one example, it should be enough. If you really stop and think about one example, it's baffling enough. A lot of times, and this is overwhelming for me too, when I was studying the subject matter, honestly, I'd study one example, then another, then another, then another, then another, and I'd literally have to stop and just go tease a baby or play Street Fighter or something and get my mind off of it because it was too overwhelming. There are literally moments I remember where I'm just sitting there and, oh, whoa, I need some ice cream or something. I need to stop studying because this is I'm just sitting in my chair, Husna was little at the time, she's playing with whatever it is she's playing with. I'm just word of God, bro, word of God. Just be overwhelmed, The unfortunate thing is much of what I'm sharing with you, it's not shared in English. That's the unfortunate thing. A lot of this stuff has already been researched, has already been talked about in other languages, especially in Arabic, but it's not presented much in English. Okay, let's go to our next example. Our next example has to do with Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Baqarah is the longest surah of the Quran. It's surah number what? Anybody know? Surah number? Very good. PhDs in Quran in the house. Surah number 2. Excellent. How many ayahs does Surah Al-Baqarah have? Any idea? 286. 286. Okay. I need you to understand some history first. Hopefully I can make it easy enough for you to get. 2/3 of the Quran is revealed when the Prophet was in Mecca. 2/3 of the Quran was revealed when the Prophet was in Mecca. 1/3 of it was revealed when the Prophet was in Medina. Okay? So the majority of the Quran had already come down when the Prophet was still in Mecca, and the minority of it, the remainder of it, came down in Medina. You'll notice we say sometimes the surah is Makki or a surah is Madani, right? You've heard that before. Makki obviously means the surahs that came from the 2/3 while the Prophet was still in Mecca. Madani means after he migrated, the surahs that came after he migrated. Okay, Baqarah is the biggest of them. Of the surahs that were revealed in Medina, the biggest of them is Baqarah. Okay, a bunch of surahs, a few dozen have been revealed in Medina. Okay, and it's the really amazing thing about them is that they're not all, it's not like Allah will reveal all of Surah Al-Baqarah and then He will reveal all of Surah Al-Hadid or reveal all of Surah Al-Ahzab and reveal all of Surah Al-Nur. It's not like that. As those surahs are coming down, as the surahs are being revealed, they're being revealed partially. So Baqarah is an ongoing, think of each surah as a building. So to help you understand this, okay? Think of each surah as a building. Some building projects are well on the way. Some building projects are just up to the first floor. Some building projects are 3 floors into the project. And every time some bricks are revealed and some floors and some construction materials are revealed, the Prophet would know where they go. So there are a number of incomplete projects all at the same time. You understand this? And as a matter of fact, there are even some surahs from Makkah that haven't been completed yet. And their completion is coming down in Medina. So the Prophet ﷺ, who does not know how to read or write, is actually in his head, and according to the Quran, in his heart, being taught where to put which ayah entirely orally. This is being done entirely orally. What did I say the longest surah was? Baqarah. Baqarah is interesting because one of the earliest surahs that started coming down when the Prophet moved to Medina, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was Baqarah. One of the earliest surahs that started coming down was Baqarah. And one of the last ayat that are revealed in the Quran also have to do with Baqarah. In other words, that entire decade that the Prophet is there, are there other surahs coming down at the same time? Yes, and Baqarah is coming down at the same time, and it's being built little by little by little by little until eventually it is complete. And when it's finally complete, how many ayahs does it have? 286. And this is, of course, by the time all the other surahs are now complete too, this is complete too. The other thing you need to know, we're building a discussion here about the second point. The next thing you need to know is that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ and the Prophet himself ﷺ never gave us ayah numbers. They never gave us ayah numbers. They would just know where an ayah stops and where the next ayah begins. They would know that. The Prophet would teach that, where an ayah stops and where the next ayah begins. But they did not talk to each other like, hey, why don't you go to surah number 35, ayah number 22, and you'll find the answer. They did not talk like that. They didn't think like that at all. Why not? Any thoughts? Why didn't they think like that? Surah number 35, ayah number 22. Show of hands, anybody? Show of hands. Any brave souls out there in the vast universe? Yes? It wasn't? It wasn't on paper. It wasn't organized in book form. And even if it was, they didn't have the idea. Do you normally do this in a book? You end a sentence and say sentence number 1. Next book, sentence number 2. Next book, sentence number 3. Do you do that? That's not normal. You don't normally do that. So that entire system of putting ayah numbers, that came a lot later. You understand that? So that's because the Muslims became obsessed with everything about the Quran. I want to know everything about the Quran. I want to know how many alifs are there in the Quran, how many ba's are there in the Quran. I want to know how many words are there in the Quran. I want to know how many words there are in a surah. I want to know how many ayahs there are, how many, I want to know how many everything. So we started doing all kinds of statistics on the Quran from early times, as soon as it was put in what kind of form? Book form, okay? But again, at the time of the Prophet, none of this was possible. It was just being recited. It was just a message that's being recited. So Surah Al-Baqarah takes 10 years to be revealed, while other surahs are being revealed. And all of this is orally done. And then after it's orally done, one of the 286 ayat uses the words, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. That is how we made you a middle nation. That is how we made you a middle nation. And the word in Arabic for middle is wasat. If you're taking notes, you can write down W-A-S-A-T, wasat. Wasat. Now this word middle is actually the only time in the Quran this word is used. It's not used ever again. Awsat is used, wasatna, the verb is used, but wasat itself, ummatan wasatan, is not used anywhere else. What ayah number did I say it's in? 143. What is the relationship between 143 and 286? It's right down the middle, isn't it? You get to the middle and you find the word middle. And it's the only time you find it. Or in the surah, this 286 ayah. At the end of the first half, middle, the next half, the other middle. Subhanallah. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. So that was my second example. You with me so far? You guys are good? Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a third example of strange symmetry in the Quran. Hey, any one of the young men, can you hand me that copy of the Quran that's right there in the windowsill? I'll just go in order. The voice is really low. I'll try to speak up. Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Ayatul Kursi. Ayatul Kursi is ayah number 255 of Surah Al-Baqarah. (255). Ayatul Kursi is a long ayah. How many people here know Ayatul Kursi? Very good, very good. If you don't know it, you should learn it. It's nice, very cool. Sayyidatu Ayatul Quran. It is the chief, it is the head of all the ayahs of the entire Quran. It is about Allah. It is a very beautiful ayah, actually, about Allah. It has many, many benefits, including protection, which is why Desis really learn it very well. And they hang it in their rear view mirrors, and they have chains and lockets made out of it, especially if they're drug dealers or if they're into some kind of shady activity or they're tax evading or something, then they make sure that they're wearing an Ayatul Kursi locket, because it will somehow provide a force field that the IRS will not be able to get through. Of course, I'm kidding. Don't take that seriously, and don't get yourself a locket and think that there's a force field. I actually had that impression when I was in 8th grade. I was actually completely convinced that if you wear like an Ayatul Kursi locket thingamajiggy, ain't nothing gonna happen. I was convinced I could jump off, because that was the 1 year I spent in Pakistan. I was convinced I could jump off the balcony of the 2nd floor and nothing will happen on the 1st floor. Something happened. And then my aunt found out, and my aunt had an anger thingy, so she was like slapping me away. And I'm like, every time she slaps me, I was like, it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. Because she's supposed to like, the force field, you know? Anyhow. Ayatul Kursi is made up of 9 sentences. Ayatul Kursi has 9 sentences. I will walk you through the 9 sentences. I'll give you a summary of each of them. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum is the first sentence. Allah, no one should be worshipped except He, and He is the living, the one who maintains everything. The living and the one who maintains everything. In this series, I'm going to keep it really brief and really not detailed. I actually did I think over the course of 2 months, I explained Ayatul Kursi in Irving. It took me about 2 months to explain this ayah. But I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to give you the super simple. So the first, the ayah is about Allah, and Allah gives us 2 of His names. Which 2 names? Al-Hayy, Al-Qayyum, the living, the one who maintains everything. Okay. Second ayah. لا تأخذه, or second sentence. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. Neither does he get drowsy, nor does he fall asleep. Drowsiness doesn't get a hold of him, No drowsiness, no sleep. You can put a summary for each of them, okay? So the first one, there are two of his names. What are the two names? The living, the maintainer. The living and the maintainer. And the second sentence, what are the two issues that are mentioned? No drowsiness and no sleep. That's a summary of sort of the second sentence. The third sentence, he alone owns everything in the skies and the earth. So he owns the skies and the earth. Okay. The fourth sentence, no one can plead for you except by his permission. No one can plead for you except by his permission. Since three of you are taking notes, you can repeat all of this to me now. What was sentence number one, roughly? The living, the maintainer. Sentence two, no drowsiness, no sleep. Third sentence, owns the skies and the earth. Fourth sentence, no one will plead for you, no one will be a lawyer for you, no one will come make a case for you except by his permission, okay? Fifth sentence, he knows what is ahead and what is before. He knows what lies ahead and what lies before. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُم. What sentence number are we on now? Number 6. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ. They know nothing except what he wants. They know nothing except what he wants. These are summarized. These are not translations, but a summary of the ideas in each sentence, okay? They know nothing except what he wants. What sentence number are we on now? 7. وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His throne extends beyond the skies, or his throne held the skies and the earth. His throne held the skies and the earth. Number 8, okay. Guarding the skies and the earth doesn't exhaust him. He doesn't get tired because of what? Guarding them. And number 9, finally. I'm going to slow down? Sure. Number 9. He is the high, the great. Okay, let's go over this again. What was sentence number 1? What was it about? 2 of his names, yes? What was sentence number 2? Drowsiness and sleep. What was sentence number 3? He owns the skies and the earth. What was sentence number 4? No one can make a case except by his permission. Number 5. He knows what is ahead and what is. Did you number them? Number them, okay? Make sure you number them. What was that up to now? 6. They don't know anything except what he wants them to know. Okay, what he wants. And number 8. His throne, or this is 7 actually. His throne withheld the skies and the earth. And number 8, he doesn't get tired guarding them. And number 9, the high, the mighty. Sentence number 1 has two of Allah's names. Sentence number 9 also has 2 of Allah's names. Sentence number 2 says that he doesn't get drowsy and he doesn't fall asleep. Is there any relationship between drowsiness and sleep and what is about to be said in sentence number 8, perhaps? When does somebody fall asleep? When does someone get drowsy? When they get tired. In sentence number 8, he says he doesn't get tired. So is there a relationship? Now this is a difficult relationship. Think about this first before I tell you number 3 and number 7. There's a king and there's an owner. I need you to understand the difference between a king and an owner. I own this pen or I'm the king of this pen. Actually, I don't even own this pen. It's just an example. But let's say I own this pen. I own this pen. It would be kind of silly for me to say, I am the declared sovereign of this pen. I shall have kingdom and domain over this pen. And whatever shall come to pass on this pen shall be my dominion. It doesn't make any sense because it's just a pen. So I can say that I own this pen, but I cannot say I am the king of this pen. I can't do that. You own a book bag, you are not the king of your book bag. You understand? Now, when is the word king used? King of something, king of an island, king of a country, king of a continent. When is it used then? When you own something big or something small? Something big. Now, there are some advantages to owning, and there are some advantages to being a king. And there are some disadvantages to owning, and there are some disadvantages to being a king. Let me tell you the advantages of owning. When I own something, I know everything about it, I control everything about it, I take it apart, I put it back together. You know, I kind of keep tabs on it. You know, it's under my immediate control. But the problem with owning is you can only own little things. You cannot own big things. You can't own big things. If you own big things, you're more like a king than you are an owner. Because when you own, like, let's say 100 miles, can you control every flower that grows on that 100 miles? You can't. You can kind of oversee a little bit, hire people, but you yourself cannot come down to every blade of grass and every flower. You understand? If a guy's if for example back in the day somebody owned another human being, they had a slave. If they had a slave, they can control when the slave sleeps, when he wakes up, what he eats, all of it. But if a king has a million soldiers, can he control when they sleep and when they wake up and all of that? In other words, an owner can have a lot of control because he can go down to the smallest details, but a king can only have kind of executive decisions, big decisions, but he cannot have every little detail. He can't control everything. You understand that? So the advantage of being a king is different from the advantage of being an owner. The advantage of being a king is actually you have a lot more power, you have a lot more control, or you have a lot more vast territory, but what's the disadvantage? You can't control the little things. So here's the summary. Owners can control the little things, kings can control the big things. So that's at the same time an advantage, and at the same time that's a disadvantage. If you control little things, obviously what can you not control? Big things. And if you control big things, what can you not control? Little things. Now, when Allah says He owns whatever is in the skies and the earth, Allah is describing Himself as an owner, which could leave you thinking, well, He's just an owner but not a king. That's one advantage and not the other. If you go to the 7th sentence, what does He say? His throne encompassed the skies and the earth, which means when you have a throne, what are you thinking of? A king. So sentence number 3 is about His ownership, and number 7 is about His kingdom. He is both owner and king at the same time. Only He can be. Nobody else can be. Okay? Is that clear, the relationship between 3 and 7? So far we've seen a direct relationship between 1 and 9. Then we've seen a direct relationship between 2 and 8. Then now we see a direct relationship between 3 and 7. What are we going to do next? 4 and 6. Notice the word except came up in both 4 and in 6. What did we say about 4? No one can make a case except by his permission. So it's about nobody can do anything except by his permission. And what was number 6? Nobody can know anything except what he wants. So in both 4 and 6, we are not capable of doing anything except if he intervenes. One ayah of exception, the other ayah of exception. Wow, 1 is tied to 9, 2 to 8, 3 to 7, 4 to 6. What's left? 5 is remarkable. 5 is remarkable. In 5 he said he knows what's coming ahead and he knows what's behind. Didn't he? And I just stopped reading and I'm like, okay, all right. Word of God. How does somebody speak like this? The Quran was not edited. Once it was recited, it got memorized. It's like a voicemail you leave. It's done. If you said, I hate you, you know. I never liked you, actually. I only pretended to be your friend because your dad owns a Pizza Hut. Or something. Once that voicemail has been sent, there is no taking it back. There is no erasing it. Once words come out of your mouth, that's it. See, when you're writing a hate email, before you hit send, you can still what? Edit it and change it, and you can do all that. But once you speak, it's gone, it's too late. It's gone. The Quran was spoken. How does someone speak like this? That's my third example of symmetry. Fourth example. Surat, I forgot about Fatiha. Let's talk about Surah Al-Fatiha. Surah Al-Fatiha is the surah of symmetry in the Quran. It has many, many forms of symmetry. I'll only talk to you about a form of symmetry that I have not spoken about before. The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about Surah Al-Fatiha, he said that Allah says about Surah Al-Fatiha that He broke it into two halves. The first half is for me, and the second half is for my slave. So according to Allah, Fatiha is divided into two halves. The first half is for Allah, and the second half is for the slaves. Okay? You know what's amazing? The first half of the Fatiha has 63 letters. If you spell the letters out, it has 63 letters. If you spell out the second half of the Fatiha, it has 63 letters. The Prophet ﷺ knew how to read or no? When someone doesn't know how to read, can they count letters? No. 63 letters on this side, 63 letters on that side. That was an easy, quick one. But crazy. It's just crazy. How does that happen? How do you speak and say, well, I'm going to give a speech. There are two parts of it. The first part is dedicated to you. The second part is dedicated to me. And then when the recording of my speech is done and it's all typed out, then you count the number of letters I used, not the number of words, not the number of words, the number of letters. This part I gave for you is equal in letter number to the part I gave for me. You have to start, just give up. I just give up. I don't have the energy, the mental capacity to doubt this anymore. Then, another example. Surah Al-Rahman. Surah Al-Rahman is surah number 55. And Surah Al-Waqi'ah is after that, that's surah number 56. So I'm going to compare two surahs now, surah number 55 and surah number 56. Okay? They were revealed at different occasions, and are these surahs revealed all at once or little by little? They're revealed little by little. Okay? All right. Surah Al-Rahman has 5 sections. Surah Al-Rahman has 5 sections. I will give you a list of those 5 sections. Section 1, the greatness of the Quran. Which surah are we talking about? What was section 1? Greatness of the Quran. Section 2, amazing creations. What was section 1? Greatness of Quran. Section 2, amazing creations. Section 3, the day of judgment and hellfire. Judgment and hellfire. That's section 3. Section 4, first level of paradise. First level of heaven. Economy class heaven. Section 5, premium heaven, level 2 heaven. Luxury class heaven, the deluxe suite heaven. 2 levels of heaven are being described. Okay, can you walk me through 1 through 5 sections? Greatness of the Quran, amazing creation, day of judgment, and first level of Jannah, then second level of Jannah. Okay, Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Section 1. The best of all believers. They're called the first and the foremost. That's what they're called, the first and the foremost. As-sabiqun as-sabiqun. The ones who come ahead of her, they're the best of all believers. Section 2, people of the right hand. People of the right hand. People of the right hand means good people. They're not the best of the best, but they are still people of the right hand, which means they still go to Jannah. Also means they get the book on Judgment Day. The book of your deeds is given to you in your right hand, which means you're not in trouble. You will make it to Jannah. People of the right hand. What was section 1? Huh? Best of all believers. Section 2? People of the right hand. Section 3, people of the left hand. People of the left hand. Section 4, Allah's power to create. Section 5, the greatness of the Quran. I'm comparing surah number 55 to surah number 56. Anyone notice anything? Section 1 of Surah Al-Rahman was greatest of the Quran. Section 5 of Surah Al-Waqi'ah is greatest of the Quran. Section 2 of Surah Al-Rahman was amazing creation. Section 4 of Surah Al-Waqi'ah is, oh my God. Section 3 of Surah Al-Rahman is Judgment Day and Hellfire. Section 3 of Surah Al-Waqi'ah, backwards, people of the left hand actually get judged. People of the right hand don't get judged. They get spared. So Judgment Day and Hellfire is actually real trouble for people of the left hand. Okay, section 4 of Surah Al-Rahman. First level of Jannah. Section 2 of Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Which should get what? First level of Jannah. Section 5 of Surah Al-Rahman. Higher level Jannah. Section 1 of Surah Al-Waqi'ah. So the best of all Muslims, the best of all believers should get what? Higher level of Jannah. Sometimes I study this stuff, I just want to slap myself. I go, what? No. No. Okay, we'll go on. We'll go on. You have the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Surah number 12. The entire surah was revealed, the entire story was revealed actually in one shot. Okay? Section 1 of Surah Yusuf. There's a dream. Section 1 of Surah Yusuf is, there's a dream. Dream, yeah. Section 2, his brothers try to hurt him. They try to hurt him, yeah. Section 3. You can say the main idea in Section 3 is the minister's wife tries to seduce him. Along with her Egyptian lady friends. That's Section 3. How many sections we got so far? Okay, Section 4. Yusuf goes to jail. Section 5. The king sees a dream. Okay. We got 5 sections? What was Section 5? Section 6 is the dream gets interpreted. Section 6 is the dream gets interpreted. What was Section 4? Yusuf goes to jail. Section 7 is Yusuf comes out of jail. What was section 3? Minister's wife attempts to seduce along with. Okay, what section are we on now? Section 8. The minister's wife admits that she was wrong, and so do the Egyptian ladies. They confess. What was section 2? Brothers try to hurt Yusuf. What section are we on? Section 9. Brothers apologize for hurting Yusuf. What was section 1? Yusuf sees a dream. Section 10. The dream gets interpreted. Gets interpreted. Now we know what it means. It gets fulfilled. He saw a dream that 11 stars, the sun and the moon, are going to do sajda to him. And in section 10, they're right in front of him, his 11 brothers, the parents. It became real. What's going on in Surah Yusuf? The first 5 elements of Surah Yusuf are being solved. Those 5 problems that are being introduced in Surah Yusuf are being solved in exactly reverse order. Symmetry. Okay. How many examples have I given you thus far? I told you about Isa alayhi salam. I told you about the word wasat. I told you about Ayatul Kursi. I told you about Surah Al-Fatiha. Right? I told you about Surah Al-Rahman. I told you about Yusuf alayhi salam. There's 2 left. I said 6, I'll give you 8. Give me a sentence that spells backwards and forwards the same way. Give me a palindrome. Good. Race car. Dad, Bob, Pop, Mom. Kayak. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. Write it down. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. Can I repeat that? Yes. A plan, no, I'm kidding. A man, a plan. Let's not write it down. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. Okay. That actually spells backwards and forwards the same way. Now, I want you to think about 2 things before I give you this example. When you want to spell something backwards and forwards the same way, before you do, let me give you some rules. The rules are, you can spell it backwards and forwards the same way, but here's the subject I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about how great God is. Now give me a sentence about the greatness of God that spells backwards and forwards the same way. Is that possible? See, if you want to spell something backwards and forwards the same way, you can only worry really about the spelling. You can't really worry about what? The meaning or the subject. If you worry about the subject, you can't worry about the spelling. If you worry about the spelling, you can't worry about the subject. And if you're really interested in saying something that spells backwards and forwards the same, which is pretty cool, race car is pretty cool. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama is sweet. Except, it doesn't really mean something epic. And even if it did, it wasn't really something you wanted to say. You just came up with it somehow in order to be able to say that it's spelled backwards and forwards the same way. So what I'm trying to say is, if you worry about spelling, you cannot worry about subject. And if you worry about subject, you cannot worry about spelling. You cannot have both at the same time. Is that clear to everybody? Okay. Allah says in the Quran, وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ. Now, I'm going to give you some letters of the English alphabet just so you have this in English first. Write the letter R. Then write 2 B's. Just space them out. Capital R, space, 2 B's, B and B. Then K. Then F. Then K. Then B and B. then R. Is that symmetrical? It is? That's how Allah says, declare the greatness only of your Lord. رَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ. Declare the greatness only of your Lord, only of your Master. Is that something meaningful to say? Is that something that's actually, it makes sense? You know what's even weirder, even more outrageous, is this was said in the middle of a conversation. This is said in the middle of a conversation. And it's part of a conversation, which means it fits in with the rest of the things that are being said. Ya ayyuhal muddathir, qum fa'anzir, wa rabbaka fakabbir, wa thiyabaka fatahhir, wa rujza fahjur, wa la tamnun tastakthir, wa li rabbika fasbir. It's just part of a conversation. And in the middle of the conversation, Allah just says something that is perfectly symmetrical. Can you do that in the middle of a conversation? Just drop in a sentence that's just going to spell backwards and forwards the same way. And on top of that, give it to a prophet who doesn't even know what a letter is. He doesn't know how to read. He doesn't know how to read. Okay, now write another one. K L L F Y F L K. I'll say that again. K L L F Y F L K. Is that symmetrical? It's not. Something's off. What's off? There's a second L. Very good. Very good. Allah talks in the Quran about how He created planets. How He created planets. And the planets are orbiting. He said, كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. All of them are in an orbit swimming. The word falak is used not for a perfect circle, but for something that's a bit oval. Like the orbits that are, planets that orbit around the sun, or the moons that orbit around the planet. Is it a perfect circle or is it a bit off? It's a bit off. It's not a perfect circle. Just like the symmetry of these words, everything in orbit, kullun fi falak, is actually tilted a bit to one side. There are two L's on one side, two lams. Kullun fi falak yasbahun. Yeah, that was my next example. So even when the symmetry is off slightly, it actually has to do with a kind of symmetry, a structure that is supposed to be off slightly, like the orbits of planets. It's supposed to be tilted a little to one side. It's a little closer one side and a little further away the other side. Subhanallah. Kullun fi falakin yasbahun. So those were my examples of strange forms of symmetry in the Quran. These are just a few, but I wanted to give you a sampling. And the purpose of me giving you this sampling is simple. I find every one of these things paranormal activity. I don't know how to explain this, like as an accident. I don't know how to explain this as, well, it's cool, but this cannot be an accident. All of these things are an accident. One after the other, after the other, after the other. This is all an accident. You can dismiss all of it. Okay, you go ahead. I can't do it. I can't do it. So inshallah, with this, I'll conclude this session. In the next session, I will share with you one last thing that gives us confidence in our faith. Why do we have so much confidence in this book? Why do we know for sure, for ourselves, this can only be from Allah. It cannot be from, it's not the product of a human mind. It is absolutely not the product of a human mind. Okay, so we'll look at it one last time, inshallah ta'ala. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum.